Hey everyone, we're going to let you board on and talk today about wealth building. I get asked a lot of questions right now about how we build businesses and how we make our money. And I want to have a conversation today about doing just that. I'd like to have a conversation that most people don't talk about, which is, how do you make money? How are you making money? And how do you build wealth? And today, that's a conversation that most people, hi, glad to see you on, Karen. Thanks for watching. This is great. Thanks for the waves. As people start onboarding, I want you to know most of the time we get asked, a lot of the time I get asked the question, it doesn't matter, hey Wayne, good to see you on. It doesn't matter what is happening or where I am. People are always asking about how I make my wealth. So today we are going to have a conversation as people on board. Good to see everybody coming on board. Thank you. Hey Ruth Ann, nice to see you. Welcome aboard. We're going to be talking about how I build my wealth, how I built my companies. And Wayne says, good afternoon, ladies. So he's talking to everybody there. Nice to have that aboard. And then another Karen jumped on. Hey, Karen, how are you? So we're going to again be talking about wealth building. And I'm going to be looking over here a little bit because on the computer next to me, I've actually made some notes. And the reason this came on yesterday, I live in a small mountain town way up in the mountains. And it was my vacation home for years and years until I just decided to move up here. But what's really close to here that I really enjoy is hot springs. They have a hot springs pool, and I went swimming last night and I met somebody really great there. And she was a single mom with a daughter. And the first thing that she was telling me was that she wanted to know how to build wealth, how to make money, how to grow wealth. And I was talking to her and thinking, I get asked this a lot. So today we're going to go over one of the fundamental principles I use about building wealth. And we're going to be talking this month about how to do that. And so today I want to tell you how to really take your experience throughout life and turn it into wealth. Because that's all I've done. I've taken my experiences and I've turned them into wealth. And one of the things I did was I managed to at a young age, start early at thinking about how to make money. I remember the first question I used to think about is, how can I make some money? How can I make some money? How can I make some money? That's a lot of what went through my mind. So what happens to me though now is that I don't think about how do I make money? How am I going to make money? Because what happens when most people lose their job is they think about, how am I going to make money? How am I going to make money? What can I do? What can I do? And they start thinking about what they know how to do. Like, well, I know how to be a landscaper. I'll start a landscaping business. Even if the landscaping business isn't the best business for them to start in that neighborhood. Or they think, well, I know how to bake. So I'll start baking cookies and selling them in the bake sale. And the thing about starting in this way is that you're thinking about how to solve a personal problem. And that's great that you want to problem solve and solve that problem. But if you want to build wealth, the question has to change. The question has to change from how do I make money to how do I build wealth? And that is a different conversation. Building wealth, hey Bill, nice to see you. Building wealth is it's a much bigger question than how do I make money. And the thing is, most people get online and they type, how do I make money online? How do I make money online? They're not answering the question, how do I build long-term wealth? And the difference between that is actually moving from short-term happiness to long-term happiness. And short-term happiness is, I'm able to pay my bills this month. I'm able to do it. Okay. So I have a couple of weeks off before I have to worry about paying my bills again. And building wealth, it's a more complex conversation. But once that is solved, you never have to go back over here again. So the way I solve this is by asking the questions, why? and I stay with tough questions. So if you look on the Facebook group page today, Ken MacArthur, I love you. So glad to see you. That makes me happy. So what happens is when we begin to ask the question of how are we building wealth and not how am I going to make some money, what we end up having is we have to look at every problem, big problems. Hey, Rochelle, nice to see you guys on today. So it's a really full crowd. Thank you for being here. We're going to have a great time, and we're getting into building wealth, and I'm sharing how I built my wealth and some of the techniques I use. So again, we're going to go back. I do not ask the question, how am I going to make money? I build wealth. So this is the thing. When we build wealth, we want to solve big problems, a very big problem. So if you go to the Facebook group today, what you're going to notice is that in there we have a question. And the question said, are you living the life of your dreams? Are you living the life of your dreams? Now, if you're not, then we begin to utilize what I call the 5 whys. The 5 whys help me create an outlook, a product, a plan. Everything comes from that wealth building tool of answering the questions of why. And you have to be willing to be super honest, super authentic, and super real when you start looking at the big problems. So every challenge anybody has 3 components to it. And the 3 components are how you build. Hey, Robin, nice to see you. Nice. Everyone, thank you so much. I see all the loves and the likes and everything going on. Thank you. Every problem, every challenge has 3 components to it. The first component I look at when I'm building a product or an outlook is I look at the how-to component. The how-to component means, how do I make a film? How do I build a website? It's the how-to component. The next thing is there's an emotional component to it. How do I build? This is harder than I thought it was. How do I'm not enough. I'm not going to be good enough. And then the emotional component is almost not noticed by a person. The emotional component is the thing that has to be looked at deeply with the question of why. And then again, the last thing is the bridge or your solution from point A to point B. That's how we look at it. So every challenge has 3 components. Those 3 components turn into your product or your solution. And every challenge has to have the 5 whys. Now, the question why is really important because the question why drops you down. So let's take a really spectacular problem. And we say, are you living the life of your dreams? Are you living the life of your dreams? So Karen Swanson says the component 3, bridge to solution. That's number 1. And Karen Sachs said, I forget about the emotional component. Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome. Every product, every client you have. Now, in my company, we are not allowed to say customers. We have 0 customers. We either have investors or we have clients. Investors or clients. Now, I want to be really clear with you. Investors are not people who lend you money. Investors are people who love you so much they're willing to let you give them money. Lenise, hi, how are you, everybody? Wow, this is really packed on. Thank you. Those investors who are willing to give you money for your services, those are the true investors in your business. Clients are people you build relationship assets with. You want to make sure that you do not have customers. You want clients or investors. Those are long-term people who love your business so much that they're going to be there every day. They're going to be there at the time you would like to sell something, talk about something, or make something. Your job is to make the extraordinary. Your job is to find the extraordinary solution. And that means you have to get to the point where you're willing to go deeper than most people go. Most of the stuff you find on the internet is It's very superficial. People are like, well, you can buy this, or you can get this, you can get this. It's how to, and it doesn't actually solve the whole problem. Why? Because they haven't looked at all the components. The first component is the how-to piece of it, then the emotional piece of it, then your bridge or solution. You have to look at all of that first. Then, once you get that, you want to ask the question, why? Now, in my office, we do not ask the question why by ourselves. I actually have a way that we make the extraordinary. Hey, everybody, I want to say that Sherry Kennedy, I see everybody jumping on right now. I'm in the middle of the go part. I just want to say thank you for being here at the live, everyone. Great to have you with us. And we're talking about building wealth and what it is and how I built wealth. So I'm going to continue and just let everybody know thank you so much for being here. Now, my team, my office, like right now I'm talking to you, but I have 14 people in my office and 5 of them are on my board of directors, and they're out there, and I create a think tank. And if you're just a solopreneur right now and you have an idea for a business, you have an idea for making an extraordinary solution for an identifiable group of people, then what would be very powerful for you at this point is for you to even get some friends together and ask them the question. Rochelle, thanks. I love sharing this. Ask them the question. The question is, why? If you're not living your dream life, that's the question we're asking today. If you're not living your dream life, the question is why? And you want to write down every answer to why. And if you could get 5 really honest friends to sit down and tell you why they aren't living their dream life, I don't care if you think it's excuses or whatever, write the excuses down. Get to the point where you are making the extraordinary because you're willing to go where the extraordinary is. And the extraordinary is always in the emotional piece of it where you're willing to be authentic. And you can hear their excuses and say, well, maybe you've thought this, and maybe you've thought excuse, whatever it is that they're saying. Once you get there, you need to ask why again. So the why for them is, why is that scary for you? Or whatever their problem is, whatever the answer they gave you, you want to jump down and ask why again, and ask why again, and ask why again. So when it breaks down into my team assembles a think tank team. The think tank team at ours has to be at least 3 people. And with that 3 people in the think tank, we outline the problem. We outline the sentence. We outline what everybody wants to deal with. The wealth, the money is in the answer to a hard problem, not an easy problem, the hard problem. And that's the thing. If you're taking your business and you're saying, do you have a consultant or a coach? And the answer is no. Your next question needs to be, why? Why don't you have a consultant or a coach? Well, I can't afford one. I don't have the time. I think they're useless. Whatever the answer is, you go, why? And get down even to the deeper. And you're making notes about this all the way through it. Why? You do not want to get defended. And if you're a coach, go, well, we do this and we do that. You just want to be open, stay in neutral, and continue to ask the question, why? And so ask the first why, then ask again, go even deeper, and make notes of each thing. After you've asked why, of at least 5 people, you should have a good culmination of thoughts, problems, emotional feelings, and everything else. And in there, that's your product. That's your solution. This is where you begin to craft the extraordinary. And in crafting the extraordinary, if you are very much a person who wants to build wealth, you're going to be the extraordinary. So for me, the first crafting of the extraordinary is to outline a book. Because in outlining that book, I've now answered the most painful problem, question, etc. And in that book, I'm going to use my personal stories about how I got out of it or how I figured it out. So in other words, I sit with the question every single day, why don't people know how to build wealth? Why? So for me, I'm like, well, most people don't understand the difference between being rich and being wealthy. Rich is a form of having a lot of money, but what exactly is wealthy? And if you've read The Ultimate Freedom, my book, ooh, look at this shameless plug for my book, really great book. It's about creating and taking your best life by addressing some of the 6 biggest problems in people's lives right then. So now you're addressing some of the biggest problems people have in an industry specific area. That makes you the go-to person in your industry. But you need to be able to talk about, in a logical, kind, gentle way, the painful pieces of it. Like, I know there's tons of people who will not do Facebook Lives because they're worried about being judged by others, or stumbling, or not being very good, or getting scared of some sort. And what I have to say to them is that I have to be willing to do that also. We're talking about you sharing how you've gone through it. So when I get on Facebook, yeah, you're going to have some haters. You're going to have people who think you're crazy. It doesn't matter what you're building wealth on. The better you get at it, the more haters you have. And what you want to do to get to the very core of a problem makes you the industry standard. Not, here's a quick fix of how to. Just do this and just do this and just do this and just do this. I want to tell you something. If that worked, if that really worked, the masses would be wealthy already. The whole world would be wealthy if the how-to programs were really working. And what happens? The how-to programs aren't working. Why? Because they haven't addressed the painful parts of the problem. And so Facebook Lives are my favorite. Thank you. I'm enjoying them too. I'm getting to the point where I get to talk to a group of people. And what we have to do is we have to say, what is it that's missing from our how-to that makes us exceptional, extraordinary, the big solution? Well, it's not just, and everybody always goes, it's the mental game. You have to shape your mental game, and this is how you do it, voila. But when you're in the middle of it, your mental game, you have to figure out where your client comes on. So, for example, in my industry, I know that I will lose a client the second they need to go to support. Because let's say you're building a website right now, and you get stuck on something, and you have to go to the support ticket. And the support ticket says, oh my God, they'll reply somewhere between 24 and 48 hours. So you're thinking, oh my God, do I have 24 to 48 hours before I have to solve that problem? Hey, Rob Maggs, nice to see you. So glad you're here. Anyway, so when you're looking at that and you're thinking, okay, is it 24 to 48 hours before I get an answer? Is that what happens? Is that what I'm up against? Well, that's when you lose the client. It's like, it's too hard. You have to figure out where in the process does it get too hard? Where in the process do they not, where do they falter, and why do they falter? Dig deep, go far. Your money is in answering the tough, hard questions, not in just putting your how-to together. Everybody stops at the how-to. I'll just put this out there and blah, blah, blah. And then what happens is they look at people as customers. They want to churn the sale. They're like, I sold so many people. I sold so many people. Great. Out of those 1,000 people that you sold, how many of them could you actually get to implement your process until they had a success story? If it's this much, can you see how you're going to be out of business soon? Everything about wealth building maxes out the best of you, not the least of you, but the best of you. And so the thing about being over 50 that is so important to know about building wealth is you have the experience. You understand how it feels. And we have this really unique gift. And that one unique gift is that at some point in time, you had to learn to do it by hand and then by technology. by hand and technology, and that's what separates you from everyone. Everything that you do can create wealth for you. Everyone has at least one $1 million idea in them. Thanks for being with me today. That's what we're going to discuss. Tomorrow, we have a really fabulous topic that I haven't even put up, but we're going to continue the building wealth pieces so that you can build wealth over 50. All right. Thank you guys for being here. I'll see you guys tomorrow. This is the Smart Over 50 show. See you later.